What is up, guys? We are here. The time has finally come to break down and get into the full card, the stacked card that we have for AEW Revolution, which of course is taking place on Sunday, March 6th, 2022, from the beautiful, if I do say so myself, Orlando, Florida. I am so happy you guys are here. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Again, if you are new here, welcome. You feel free to follow me on Twitter at ASHMANNS, and the Twitter or the show's Twitter page is at kickashpodcast_. I'm not going to waste too much time here, guys. Like I said, we have a stacked card for Revolution tomorrow night, so I kind of want to get into that so we can kind of give a little time to each match that we have here, starting with the buy-in. They just added a couple matches to the buy-in, I guess, card and portion of the card rather itself too, so definitely want to get into that. But as always, I hope you guys have had a awesome week, and feel free to let me know what you guys are thinking going into Revolution with Rampage in the rear view mirror. Now we are all set for Revolution, and it's time, guys. I'm excited to see how the whole card itself plays out, because Tony Khan, I think, had either mentioned in a tweet or in an interview somewhere that Revolution is going to be the start of a lot of storylines, which is pretty cool to think about, and pretty cool to kind of speculate as to what that means and for who, and if it's going to be the result of anything monumental happening, like a title change or anything like that. So, like I said, I definitely just want to kind of get into the card here and not waste too much time. So, we, of course, will start off with the buy-in portion of the card, which we have a couple matches listed. We have Kris Statlander versus legit Layla Hersh, and Kris Statlander has kind of taken this little, I'm just going to say a little personal, but little would be a drastic understatement with some of the comments she's said to Layla Hersh about being adopted and everything like that. I think this is going to be a fun match, and supposedly we're going to be seeing a darker side from Statlander, so it'd be cool to see what that looks like. But as much as it pains me to say, I think Layla Hersh is going to be taking the L here. Just whatever reason, I think this new version that we could be getting from Kris Statlander could be the start of another or a revived push for her. So I think that would be kind of cool to see. And obviously, if you're going to be focusing on her, you want her to get off on the right foot, right? So I've definitely seen her pick up the W here, although I would love to be wrong and to see Layla get some love. But my money here is on Kris, and I think this would be a good starter match and a fun match to kind of kick everything off with. And like I said, Layla is legit, right? Like, that moniker she has is pretty fitting. So I don't know if I've mentioned on this particular podcast or if it was with Mimi on the WWE podcast. But I would love to see her with Team Taz. I think she would be just a shoo-in with that group. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. But like I said here, I'm kind of predicting that Kris Statlander is going to get the W. But I think if this one doesn't actually start off the buy-in card, I think this is a good match that they added on. So I'm definitely happy to see that. And the fact that we're getting 3 women's matches in itself, technically on the pay-per-view card. Obviously, this isn't the pay-per-view proper, but if we're being technical, it is on the Revolution card. So, depending on your views and your mindset on that. But regardless, it's cool to see the women get another match added on there. But next up, we have Hook making his pay-per-view-ish debut against QT Marshall. Again, he has been, or their match rather, has been slotted for the buy-in portion as well. Don't really see this going long at all, although I would kind of like it too. I think it could be fun to see Hook go for like a 10-minute match. But for some reason, I don't really see it going that way, unless I'm, I could be wrong, but I think they're going to kind of give this opportunity for Hook to make another, not necessarily a full-blown squash match, but kind of win in dominant fashion, maybe have it go like 2, 3, 4 minutes max. But yeah, I think obviously that the focus here is getting over Hook, so I don't think it's going to be any shocker to anyone, but my prediction here is that Hook is taking the W, but I think QT Marshall is the perfect kind of transition opponent for him, going from his fellow like newcomers, right, and fellow new talent and talent who are just kind of getting their feet wet, so to speak, and then transitioning into the more established and more veteran talent that they have on the roster. And obviously QT is a trainer himself, so he's obviously been in the game for years at this point, but I think this is a good starting point for him, and it'll be very interesting to see the reaction that he gets. Just seeing the crowd from last night at Rampage, there were a ton of Sin Hook shirts, a mixture of the black and the white ones, which is pretty cool too. But yeah, I think he's gonna get a monstrous reaction, and thinking of that, I could see them wanting to start the show off hot with him, so I could see them starting with that match too. So I think either way, either match you start off with is a good addition to the card itself, but no question here in my opinion that Hook is taking the W. Next up, we have a tornado tag match with Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara teaming up against Matt Hardy, Andrade El Idolo, and Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party. I almost said Private Property. But yeah, this match obviously is just to focus on the friction and the impending explosion and dismantle a group of the AHFO. This thing is just, I'm ready for it to be over with, and I think it's just a matter of time, obviously, because Jeff will be here any week now. Again, I'm still a little bitter. Like, I wish, like, just the timing, man. Like, just for my own selfish reasons, like, I just wish the timing that, like, for me personally, as a longtime Jeff fan, like, as you guys know, like, it just would have been perfect if he would have been able to make his debut at Revolution. But of course, I'm definitely happy for whatever crowd gets it, because it's going to be a cool moment. And we here are already getting a lot, so I can't be greedy. But yeah, between the whole focus of this match, in my opinion, just being on the dissension between the AHFO and the fact that you just kind of wanted to get Darby Allin, Sting, and Sammy on the card itself. I think this obviously kind of checked both of those boxes. So, again, in my opinion, this is another no-brainer match with Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara getting the W here. It will be interesting to see how the victory goes down, though, and if it's maybe Matt Hardy screwing over the rest of his team or what have you. But I'm definitely kind of looking forward to seeing how that plays out, because obviously when Jeff comes in, they're going to be fan favorites, right? So you don't want Matt to be too much of an asshole right now. And, I guess I say that in the second, Matt could be an asshole today and Jeff could debut tomorrow and it would be like nothing happened, because everyone loves the Hardy Boys. So I guess that really doesn't probably matter too much, but just for the sake of keeping things clear and straightforward, I would maybe, because I guess depending on how do you look at it, if Matt turns on him, that could maybe be a heel-ish move, right? Like abandoning your team. But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking way too much into it, probably. But yeah, like I said, Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy are getting the W here, and this is just a good way, easy way to kind of get everyone on the card as well. But next up, we have the TBS Championship match, which is Jade Cargill as your champion, defending against Tay Conti. Again, this was kind of like a last-minute match that was started. To me, this is another no-brainer with Jade Cargill retaining. I think this is going to be a good match, though. I think that Tay Conti, obviously, like I've stated in the past, has improved so much, because she is, obviously we all know Jade is as well, but Tay hasn't really been in the wrestling world too long either. She obviously was in NXT for a short stint, but I don't, in thinking about it, I don't know exactly. I know it's been a few years, obviously, at this point, but I don't know exactly how long she's been in the game, so she's still improving and working on her craft as well. Like, she's still super young, so people seem to be giving this match a lot of shit, and while I do agree that it is kind of out of nowhere and was, like, kind of just thrown together, but, it is what it is. I'm just happy we get another women's match, and would it make sense to not really have Jade do anything on this match? I think with the presence that Jade has, you want her on your pay-per-view. So I think this was a good match. I just maybe wish there was a little bit more story and something into it, because, I kind of just want Jade to have a good story now. Like, she's the champion. I kind of want her to have a good story she can kind of like sink her teeth into and kind of play out and kind of have like a mini feud that she can defend her championship against the same individual like X amount of times, and not just these one-offs. So yeah, I think that would be interesting, and I would definitely just like seeing how she reacts like in like a promo battle and with going and just playing off of an opponent and a potential opponent, I guess, in the ring, and just just that I have an actual story. So I think that hopefully maybe after Revolution, right, with Tony Khan saying, like I mentioned, this is going to be the start of a lot of stories. I hope maybe this includes Jade as well. It wouldn't really surprise me though. She just went through Tay Conti, and then next up was Anna Jay with their relationship. So maybe in the future, maybe after she goes through Anna Jay as well, maybe she'll start an actual feud with someone. But for now, I guess the idea is just to continue establishing her as a dominant force, which is cool, and I'm definitely down for that. But moving on here as well, we have up next the Face of the Revolution ladder match. And thinking about the actual main card itself, I'm kind of curious what they're going to end up opening with. I do not envy Tony Khan with having to book the order of the show either, because that's pretty crucial too, right? It contributes to the flow of the card and the flow of the crowd and the ambiance and everything like that. And I think that's kind of maybe overlooked sometimes, or just kind of not given as much value and as much stake in. But in my opinion at least, the layout and the whole story of the card itself is pretty crucial. So do not envy him in that position at all. I mean, I think the main event is probably pretty obvious at this point, but everything else is up in the air. But anyway, back to the ladder match itself. We, of course, have the semi-ish debuting, coming off of a recent debut of Keith Lee, along with Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, who's the FTW champion, Orange Cassidy, and Christian Cage, who won his qualifying match on Rampage last night, with the winner of this match becoming the number one contender for the TNT Championship. For this one, and I believe I read somewhere, it's not listed here on the official card that has been posted online, but I think, and again, if I'm wrong, sorry guys, but I think there was something somewhere stating that Tony had mentioned that there was going to be a 7th entrant in the ladder match. I know he had mentioned that they had obviously done that in the past, but I did take a quick second here to kind of look it up because I didn't want to lead you guys on. But according to AEW's official website itself, the match itself is still listed with just the opponents that we just went over, being Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, and Christian Cage. Like I said, he won his qualifying match on Rampage last night, so apparently there is no surprise entrant this year, so I guess those are maybe just rumors, or I'm not really sure. But moving on, and regardless of that, I think this match is going to be, I'm not going to say, I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings about this match. I don't think it's going to be one of the most memorable ladder matches, and I don't really know why I feel that way. I don't really know why I'm kind of hesitant and hedging on this match, to be honest with you guys. I think I have to kind of wait and see how it plays out, but as I say that, don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a hard hitting and kind of just like impactful match. I think it's going to be a different ladder match than what we are normally accustomed to, obviously with the opponents that we have that make up the match itself. We have some big dudes in this match, right? Like we have, of course, Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow himself. I think that it's going to be very cool to see how they incorporate themselves in a ladder match and what they do in a ladder match itself, right? Because obviously they're going to be going their strength and the power route, and maybe not necessarily the high-flying moves, and I don't see them necessarily doing flips off the top of the ladder or anything like that. So I say that, and I think in the past, I've looked forward to ladder matches a little bit more than I have to this one in particular. So I guess in regards to just comparing this match to other ladder matches we've had in AEW, I think I've maybe just looked forward to those more. So that may be why I was hedging a bit, but I think this match is still going to be very good, and especially with the guys, like I said, listed who are involved. But part of me thinks it should be a no-brainer with Keith Lee taking the W here, since he just debuted, and you kind of want to give him, I hate saying give him a push, because I hate using like certain words, it just kind of feels weird, but obviously like you want to give him the push. I guess I'll just stick with it, right? And if you're really serious about making him a big deal, you want him to be a champion, but I don't know if he necessarily should start off on the TNT Championship route. But then again, when you say that, the main event scene, for lack of better terms, and the actual guys in the title match, like that story, and with Hangman Page and just everyone that he has stories and matches that are kind of already just kind of waiting to play out there. I don't really see him fitting in the heavyweight championship match world either right now. So I think you're kind of forced to have him face the TNT champion, and if you're really serious about making him a championship contender right off the bat, I think you have to have him win here. Although to me, I think a nice dark horse could be Ricky Starks winning. I think it would be cool to see him maybe get a kind of take advantage of a move that maybe Powerhouse Hobbs had did on Keith Lee at the last second there, and then slip in the ring and grab the. I wonder if they're gonna do the brass ring. That's gonna be hanging above? So we'll just say we'll have him come in and sneak in at the last second and grab the brass ring, but. Depending on the route that they want to go, if they kind of want to go maybe the more predictable route, I would say it should be a no-brainer with Keith Lee. I don't really see anyone else in the match unless you want to go the Wardlow route, but with that, his whole thing was if he won, he would have to give the title shot to MJF, and MJF seems definitely a little tied up right now, regardless of if he wins or loses his match later on, which we're obviously going to get into here, but I think the safe route here is Keith Lee. You want to kind of strike while the iron is still hot with him, and not saying that it was going to fade anytime soon, but you might as well take advantage of the momentum and all the steam that he has coming in. So my money here is going to be on Keith Lee, although my dark horse pick would be a Ricky Starks. Next up on the card, we have the AEW Tag Team Championship match. Of course, your champions going into the match are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, defending against Red Dragon and the Young Bucks. This match I think, has the potential to steal the show. As crazy as that sounds with everything that we have on the card, but at least wrestling-wise and ring match-wise, I think with obviously with no like outside gimmicks or anything like that, I think this match has a potential here to kind of take the W, so to speak, for wrestling match of the night. I'm kind of torn on this one. Part of me can see them wanting to maybe capitalize on having Red Dragon still be kind of new and kind of run with Red Dragon being the champions and have that as a little bit more added friction to the whole dynamic with them, Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, and the Elite, and everything that's going on with that. But part of me, and I think the part that I'm leaning more towards is having Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus retain here. It just doesn't seem like the right time to take the titles off of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus quite yet. And with the Young Bucks and the Red Dragon being added into this match, or being the opponents in this match, I think the focus here is more on the friction, like I mentioned earlier, and the dissension between them and the wedge that that Red Dragon is driving between Adam Cole and the Young Bucks and just everything that's going on with that. So my money here would be on Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus retaining. But if they weren't, I would see Red Dragon picking up the win. I don't feel that it's time for the Young Bucks to become the champions again. I feel like when you want them to be champions again, they either need to be... I just feel like the next time they become champion, it should be maybe a joyous moment for the crowds, and that should be the culmination of them turning back babyface. So I don't see it being that time right now, especially with how stacked their tag division is. You have plenty of heel tag teams, so I don't see it really being necessary to put the titles back on them. So again, official prediction is Jurassic Express retaining their titles here. But next up we have Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston, and this is one of definitely I would say top 3 that I'm looking forward to, maybe top 4. But yeah, man, and it's primarily because of Kingston. Kingston just has a way, obviously you guys know, listening to this, you're big fans, but he just has a way with words, right? And he captivates every segment that he has, and again, with his promo on Friday, just, it was so simple, right? Him asking, like, what was the point? Like, he's just ready to get the match over, like, get this over with and get to the match, and mentioning going back to catering. It's just, he's a real dude, man, and you get that feeling, you get that vibe, and it's fun and a good feeling to be able to just kind of look at a character and know that that's probably really them in a weird way. I'm sure, obviously, a couple things are probably tweaked and exaggerated and enhanced for the Eddie Kingston character, but dude is just something different, man. He kind of reminds me of Stone Cold in a way. Obviously, popularity level is completely different, but just something about him just is kind of relatable, right? But the match itself, I think, is going to be very good. I think Jericho, the heelish route that he's going in, and he's obviously taking his run and his. I don't want to say this is going to be. I don't know if this is going to be an actual heel turn or if he's just kind of taking like the bad guy route in this little mini feud with Eddie Kingston. But if it is, and he's going to be sticking around for a while and kind of playing out his bad guy side again, kudos to him, and kudos regardless with the work that he's put in and getting his body back in really good shape, and he's got his abs back and everything, and he looks like a rock star again. So shout out to him because he definitely put in the work there. But with this one, I think you have to go with Kingston. I think with everything that Jericho said about Kingston not being able to win the big one and how he's never been able to win the big one and how he's been a slouch and he was, pretty much not doing shit in Jericho's eyes, while Jericho was main eventing and headlining and winning titles and making millions and all that shit. So I think with all that and with the popularity and just the love that is behind Eddie Kingston right now, you got to pull the trigger on that. So, this is one of those situations and matches where it is not going to hurt Jericho at all to take the L. So I say you go with Eddie here. To me, it feels like it should be a no-brainer, but maybe it's just the leeriness that I've had from watching WWE for so long, but part of me is kind of concerned they would go with Jericho winning, but I'm pretty confident the rightful prediction and outcome here is going to be Eddie Kingston winning, and I think they should. I want Eddie to get a good and a big moment here. I think this is the perfect opportunity to, and I hope this is the start of something solid for him too going forward. But next up, guys, we have, which, I said that about the tag match earlier on, and looking at this card or this match, call me crazy, I almost forgot. And it's insane because this is obviously a match that I've definitely been looking forward to. Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. This match, I'm a little surprised that it's stuck with just being a regular singles match and nothing like a no DQ or hardcore match or anything like that, but just with the references to blood that Moxley had made. But you can obviously bleed just from other measures and other tactics in a regular match. So, I am kind of torn on this one too, but I think with this, you have to go with Moxley. I think with the story, with his personal story rather, and then the story that we've seen play out on TV and the history that these guys have and where it looks like they want to go with potentially forming an actual stable, which I think they should. I think it could be fun. I think that could be its own YouTube series in and of itself. I think this match is going to be hard-hitting. I'm wondering if we're going to see blood from Danielson, just because he mentioned that, obviously, he only one person is going to be bleeding, and it wasn't going to be him, something to that effect. With Danielson, it never surprises me, it would never surprise me, rather, to see him get a W, but with this, I think I'm going with Moxley. I don't know, maybe it was more obvious to you guys, maybe I was hedging a little bit more than I should have been, but I'm going with Moxley here. I think that's the right decision. I think that, like I said, not even his own personal, triumphs that he's accomplished and his, what was a negative and he turned it to a positive. I think you, storyline-wise, should give Moxley the win with the whole idea that Bryan wants to start a stable. I think that having Moxley still seem as the alpha, I think that's something, and I think that's the route that they should go. So my money is on Mox winning here, and I think this is going to be a kick-ass match, and I hope we get at least 18-20 minutes. This card itself is probably going to be super long, so I think we all need to get ready, get some energy drinks in, coffee, whatever whatever is your go-to. I think we all need some of that for tomorrow because AEW doesn't have their pay-per-views every month. They have about, 4 a year, so they normally like to put it all into it, and props to them, but like I said, it does have a tendency to go long, so I would say at least midnight, probably 11:45 midnight. So moving along here, and the length of the card and the pay-per-view itself, I'm sure is going to be heavily contributed by these two guys. This is going to be something, man. Like I'm kind of scared, to be honest with you guys, how bloody and gruesome this match is going to be. With the promo that CM Punk cut on Rampage, I'm just, that's a vicious side of Punk that we haven't seen as wrestling fans in a couple decades almost at this point, since his Ring of Honor days. So, of course, I'm mentioning the dog collar match with CM Punk versus MJF. Just the visual that we got from Dynamite and the promo that we got from Punk on Rampage, and the weeks and months now that we've gotten of story from these guys building up to this match, I'm kind of scared for them. Like I said, like for both of them, I think this is going to be brutal and a bloodbath, and I'm kind of here for it. But yeah, I'm kind of torn on who should get the win here. While I think CM Punk may need to win, part of me is like, it's CM Punk, and he's already a made man, and MJF needs to win a brutal and vicious and gruesome bloodbath, right? Like, if what I'm imagining is actually what's gonna happen, I'm torn on this one, guys. I would not want to put actual money on it, but I'm gonna say MJF wins here. I'm going to say MJF wins. I'm going to say Punk doesn't actually ever beat MJF. I could be wrong, and I would be okay with being wrong. But to me, I think with the story, you want MJF to get a victory in a match like this. And I think with the extreme levels that we've already gone to leading up to this, and especially with what happened this past week, like, I think you just got to give it to him. I don't think you do all that and then, I don't think you tease him with all that and then pull it away at the last second. Again, like I said, while I could see them going the safe route with Punk, I think you need to kind of put it on MJF here and give him the shine here. And it's not that, I don't even want to see him come out next week if he does win here at Revolution and gloat and have a celebration like he did last time. I want to see a serious-ass MJF. I want to see this dude come out in maybe a dark suit, and maybe like a different style of his suit, right? And just something different. Maybe not even the scarf, or have like a different version of his scarf. I don't know. I feel like you've done so much, and this week itself, like, just really kind of hit home for me, like, just the measures and the length that they went to. And I think with that, them going that far on Wednesday, I can only imagine they're going to go even farther, which is why I'm kind of scared for their sake. I think they're going to go even farther and heavier on Sunday. So I think it's important for MJF to get the win here. And so my official pick is going to be MJF, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Punk wins, but the more I think about Punk winning, the more I just feel like you have to have MJF win. And again, let me know, guys, if you think that if you think that CM Punk does need to kind of redeem himself here, victory-wise, one way or another. But I'm thinking MJF still needs it kind of a little bit more than Punk does, even with everything in that he's, in the fact that he already won in Chicago. But even with that, you had Warlord kind of getting involved with that. So I think this would be a good statement victory for MJF. But moving on here, we have the AEW Women's Championship match. Your defending champion is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, going up against Thunder Rosa. And again, with this one, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy and my predictions suck, which they probably do. And I was probably better in the past, but and then maybe it's my hope clouding my better judgment type thing, but I just feel like they kind of missed the bucket with this one. And when I say that, I don't mean the women involved. And I mean in regards to pulling the trigger on Thunder Rosa beating Britt. I think we may be a little past the prime time to pull the trigger on it. And maybe I'm wrong, and I'll be okay with being wrong. And maybe it's me being a little biased too because of my being a huge fan of the Doctor herself. But I just feel like it's just kind of missing something, just missing that little extra something for it to truly be a big deal and a monumental moment for Thunder Rosa winning and for Britt being dethroned. Um, and again, there's just so many reasons why it's just kind of screaming Thunder Rosa is gonna win here, but I'm just gonna go against the grain. Fuck it, guys. I'm sticking with the Doctor here. I'm keeping Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, as the champion here. I think we may have one more successful title defense, and maybe we get a title change on the Dynamite in the following weeks after this. Maybe Thunder Rosa gets her immediate rematch, and because, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure who her next opponent would be in regards to Dr. Britt Baker, unless we are getting a surprise debut at Revolution, either like a Toni Storm or a debuting Athena, who's the former Ember Moon from WWE. So if we are going to get a surprise debut like that, I'm sure you would want them to go against a heel champion. And while you could have them go against Jade Cargill, which I think would be very, very cool, and, maybe Jade, you can maybe even make an argument that Jade would need that, individual who has more experience coming in more than a Britt Baker. But I think it also depends, too, the prestige that you want the championship to have, right? Because in my opinion, not even my opinion, my assumption was that the actual women's championship, the AEW Women's Championship, is still the top championship in the women's division, and then it's the TBS Championship. So in that case, if you're gonna have someone come in, you could view it as a debuting incomer going right up to whoever the TNT champion is at that time. And in that respect, in the women's division, you could use Jade Cargill as that. So I think that could be cool, but I don't know. It just all depends. And again, there's even no speculation that anyone is making a surprise debut. I'm just kind of pulling that out of nowhere. But the point I was getting at with that is because, like I said, I'm going with the Doctor retaining here. I think that it's just not time, and for whatever reason, I just don't know. I don't feel like it's, and I'm a fan of Thunder Rosa as well. She's phenomenal in the ring. She is probably the best worker they have in the division besides Serena Deeb, and maybe Mercedes Martinez. It's kind of similar, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling her getting her first win here would be as hot as it could be. So my official pick is going to be Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, retaining her title. But again, this is another one of those where I wouldn't be surprised if they went what they think would be the popular route with being Thunder Rosa taking the win here. But me officially, I'm sticking with the Doctor. And the last, but certainly not least, match on the card is, of course, your World Championship match, your AEW World Championship match. Of course, your champion being Hangman Adam Page going up against Adam Cole. And this one, I think, is going to be a slugfest. I think these two guys obviously have a ton of history together, a long past. They know each other quite well in the ring and outside of the ring. So it makes wrestling each other, from what I hear, super easy and kind of more second nature, maybe even than most nights. So I think this is going to be a low-key classic, I don't think many people are expecting it to be like a 4-star, 5-star match, but I think it has the opportunity to. I think whereas you went into when it was Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson, right? You expect it, and you already knew it was going to be a banger every time we saw it. Whereas this one, I think people may be a little disappointed that Cole hasn't been taken as seriously as he should, and he hasn't really been positioned to be the champion. Because maybe, and again, say what you want, but maybe he should have been taken more seriously from the beginning, and maybe he should have been position as a more serious threat if you truly wanted him to be. But if the whole idea was never to put the title on him anytime soon because you already have your lineup and your map laid out, then it totally makes sense, right? And it totally makes sense the route that he went. And I'm not even saying there was a wrong route. I'm just saying, like, again, with Cole, I would love to say I have a good feeling he's going to win, but I don't. And it sucks because I'm a big Cole fan. And if this was prior to him debuting and you were to ask me what I would, if you were to ask me before, while Adam Cole was still in NXT, right? If I thought that, oh, well, what do you think would happen if he left NXT and went to AEW? Then I would say, oh, fuck yeah, like he's gonna go in there, fight for the championship, most likely win, and probably be the face of the company for the next 6 to 8 months at least. But they didn't, and I kind of respect that. Tony Khan had already had his mind made up and his plan laid out for who he wanted his first 4 champions to be, and the story and the vision that he had for them all respectively leading up to their own reigns. So that's cool, and I like that he didn't make any drastic change, at least that we know of, right? And everything just kind of played out as it was originally intended to. So, as much as I would love to see and be witness to a title change, I think the actual outcome is going to be Hangman retaining his title here. But I think this match is probably going to be at least 25-30 minutes. Again, I think these guys are going to want to go in there and prove a point. And probably Cole more so than Paige at this point, because Paige has already had a few classics at this point, especially with his reign as champion. So I think this one, as much, and like I said rather earlier with the tag team match, while yes, Cole is fighting for his first championship opportunity in AEW, I think the main focus is still Cole's dissension with the Elite and with Red Dragon and his kind of conflict that's going on there. And I don't think, like what I said earlier, I don't think this is the right time for him to necessarily win the championship. I say maybe depending on how the return of Omega plays out and who's going to be on whose side. And once we see a clear vision for that, then I think maybe that'll kind of give us a better idea of when Cole, could possibly get back into the title picture and become champion. But with him, I still feel like we're probably at least a year out before he becomes heavyweight champion. And I hope I'm wrong, because like I said, I'm a big Adam Cole fan, but I think right now Paige retains, and my prediction for Paige, I see him going, obviously the next pay-per-view up next is Double or Nothing. I see him going to Double or Nothing as the champion, going up against MJF. I think, and that's another reason why I think MJF is going to win or earlier. Well, technically it would be earlier, but in the card. But that's why I feel like MJF is going to win his match with Punk. I feel like that's going to be just another reason why he should win and why he needs to win, to solidify his greatness and his right to challenge for the heavyweight title at Double or Nothing. And I'm very, very much looking forward to the story that we can get between MJF and Hangman Page leading up to the actual Double or Nothing pay-per-view itself. So my money here is on Page, and I think after this is going to be the start, unless Omega comes back, and then that changes literally everything. But I think my opinion and my prediction here is Adam Page retains, and it sets up, maybe not necessarily on Revolution, but probably on Dynamite, or if not this week, then we'll probably next week, but definitely soon, we'll get an idea of who's going to be his next opponent, and I think you might as well just go all in on MJF. But that is the official prediction and breakdown of the AEW Revolution card that we have for tomorrow night, guys. I hope you guys are going to be watching along as well. Let me know what you guys think. I will do my best to kind of tweet from the arena and kind of along during the show as well. But my reception's kind of shitty in there, so don't hold me to it. And if I post something, you guys may not see it until like 30 minutes later, so it kind of defeats the purpose. But let me know what you guys think of everything that's going on in the wrestling world, and I hope to drop another pod kind of focusing more on the WWE side of the universe that we all live in. But Again, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. I hope you guys are having a fun weekend and enjoy AEW Revolution, guys. Take care.